A typical Thursday night would take an astonishing turn. I cooked dinner with Joyce, my wife. While I cut cheese and ham for our omelets, she sliced an onion. She mentioned something, so I stopped. "David, do you know we've always been honest in our nearly 7 years of marriage?" she asked. Stopping, I dropped the knife. "Naturally, we have. Our relationship was founded on honesty before we were married." Joyce faced me with a serious look. She said, "I met him. Something stunned me. Did you make new friends?" "What do you mean?" I asked. Despite my worry that I knew, I work with him. A genuine kind man? A knot crept in my stomach as Joyce stated, "I've been having lunch with him." My family thought my fiancé was too good to be true. But when I found out about him and my younger sister, I was in dismay. My family is wealthy, since I am 28F. My parents own a successful software company, and we reside in a spacious home in a posh area. I've always tried to use our wealth to benefit others while being conscious of our privilege. My fiancé, Jake, who is 30 years old, and I first met 3 years ago at a benefit dinner our family. Does it continue? Are you fond of him? Maybe even a lot? I asked. She looked aside and nodded quietly, feeling terrible. I felt nauseous instead of hungry. I knew we had to talk. I dropped the knife and lay my palms on the table to stabilize myself. "In what stage is your relationship with him?" She heard my tension in my voice. She withdrew to the counter. "For 3 weeks we've had lunch daily. You had a late business meeting last week, so we had dinner. Have you kissed, held hands, or done anything else?" As her face paled, she nodded again. "We kissed. I nearly choked on a bad taste. Does the relationship go beyond kissing?" Through for a nearby children's hospital. He worked as a server for a caterer. I saw him right away. His captivating smile, defined jawline, and stunning blue eyes lit up the room. I gave myself reasons to chat to him all evening. Beyond the prestige of my family, he was kind, funny, and interested in me. Fearlessly, I asked him to coffee following the event. He wavered, claiming he was unable to pay for a lavish vacation. I told him that a stroll in the park would do just fine. On our first date, Jake opened up to me about his past. He was placed in and out of foster homes as an orphan. He had financial difficulties, but he was driven to succeed. He held a number of part-time jobs while choosing his career. Jake had me hooked right away. Compared to my usual dates, this one was really unusual. "Nice." Shaking her head, she glanced at me. "Not yet." I grabbed a chair and sat down because I needed to. "You're considering it?" She rigidly nodded. "I think so. He wants to separate from me this weekend." "Are you going?" "Indeed." "I want to know what he means to me without upsetting you." "Sorry, David. Sorry for the trouble, but I told him I'd depart. I couldn't leave quietly without telling you. Our communication has always been honest. Where are you going?" "Vegas." "Sharing a room?" "The man says he rented a suite. Heavy user. He admires me. He absolutely does." "When are you leaving?" "Morning tomorrow." "Whoa. Did you tell me last?" Hardworking and modest. We began holding frequent meetings. Despite coming from different origins, we had a strong bond. Jake encouraged me to pursue my interests outside of my family's business and made me laugh unlike anybody else. My family was first apprehensive to meet Jake. His parents were concerned about his lack of education and career opportunities, though his kind nature and good humor won people over. Some minute? I didn't say anything until I was sure I was following through before hurting you. That almost made me giggle, but I choked on a sob. "You were thoughtful." "Joyce, is he aware of your marriage?" "Indeed, without doubt. Daily, I wear my wedding rings. Please don't wear them in his bed in Las Vegas. I constantly talk about you to David. You've undoubtedly told him I'm a great man. Among other minor flaws, you may have remarked, I'm not the best bed partner, I'm boring, and I leave toenail clippings on the carpet. I never insulted you. David knows I love him. Perhaps not enough to prevent you from spending a weekend with him away from home. You may not love me, but you admire me. Is that it?" "I've already." "Not sure." "Don't understand. You want clarity from this gentle man who knows about your marriage, but doesn't care. To determine your feelings about us, spend a few days and nights in Vegas with him. Has this kind individual had an STDS test? He's not like that. David? Over 2 years have passed since he was with a woman. Those are his words. He may not be telling the truth. He sees a gorgeous married woman and wants to enslave her like a hunter. The real challenge for individuals like him. Take advantage of a beautiful married woman and crock her husband. Without testing, what happens in Vegas may not stay in Vegas. In a terrible way, it may follow you home. Would your boss be this nice? He's my boss's boss. You're really progressing? Using your body instead of your skills and effort to advance in business. Unsure how to proceed. David, but I want confirmation. Furthermore, your clumsy approach fails. I'm not in the mood to help you escape to Vegas with another. Thought Jake was taking advantage of me for money or status. Usually he was helpful and willing to assist out around the house. My parents welcomed our relationship and volunteered to assist Jake in finding employment after realizing how happy he made me. Mia, my 18-year-old younger sister, was the only one who didn't like Jake right away. She hardly ever spoke or looked at him. Every time Jake tried to talk to her, she would respond, "Man, this weekend." Joyce, I have a question. Will you stay if I crawl on my knees and beg you not to leave? She looked down at the floor and shook her head. I can't. David. I promised Frank I'd go with him. And I can't break my word. At least now I knew his name. Wow, I see. You can easily break the vows you made to me 7 years ago. But you can't break your promise to Frank. Is that it? I'm sorry, David. I don't want to hurt you, but I have to do this for me. Please try to understand I knew that I had lost her, but I had a plan in my heart. A farewell that might make her contemplate her actions on us but wouldn't change your. With a single word and walk away. I've always had a hard time connecting with Mia. She's 10 years my junior, and when she was old enough to relate, I was a college student. My parents were surprised when I had Mia, and she was raised as an only child. Her rebelliousness and strong will have always been characteristics. Growing up in our parents' shadows and rejecting their expectations. As a teenager, Mia was more outgoing. She clashed with our parents, skipped school, and attended parties. It was difficult for me to assist her because of our age difference and my busy schedule. It's likely that Mia didn't like me because I was the ideal older sister, successful in school, the family business, and a committed relationship. Once Jake came, Mia's attitude toward me deteriorated. I asked, "Mind?" I stood and faced the basement entrance. "Please wait for my demonstration. To let you prepare for your journey, I'll leave you." I found the Halloween prop in the basement. I got a paper, opened our wall safe, got a hammer and nails, and carried everything upstairs to the kitchen. Joyce was confused as I came up the stairs with a small wooden coffin we use for Halloween decorations. "What's up?" she asked. "Allow me a moment. I want to show you something before we break up after a lengthy relationship." I put my sandwich ingredients on the floor and the 3-foot wooden casket on the kitchen table. A casket. A cheap Halloween prop is still a coffin. Here's the lid, and here's a hammer and some nails. Her expression turned uneasy as I showed her the hammer. "And this," I said, holding up the paper I retrieved from the wall safe, "is our marriage license." I opened the lid of the coffin. Her again and again, but she would just shrug and say that she didn't like him. She told me he gave her a terrible sense when I inquired why. I pondered whether Mom was afraid of Jake's potential to transform us, or if she was envious of Jake's attention from our family. There was tension for more than 2 years. 6 months earlier, when Jake and I became engaged, Mia's attitude remained the same. All engagement celebrations were avoided by. Placed our wedding license inside and closed it. "David, what in the world are you doing?" "Put our marriage license back where you found it," Joyce said, her voice rising in alarm. "Why, Joyce, it doesn't hold any significance anymore. It belongs here." Inside the coffin, ready for its burial, she started tearing up. "You talking about what, David?" "Our marital status is shown. I said it won't be real until you leave that door tomorrow to be with Frank." She was getting upset. "David, you're unaware. It's unknown to me." "Yes, Joyce. I understand. You can join Frank in flight. Divorce is my option." I refrained. "This coffin has our marriage license." My nail thudded loudly on the coffin lid, making Joyce flinch. "That's nail 1. To symbolize all the meals and get-togethers you shared with Frank." I added another stone to the corner. "The second is here." She shuddered as I proceeded, "Mimicking your strong kisses with him, or her." My dad and I were both angry, but we didn't know what to do. As Mia grew older, we hoped that she would change. Mia's actions wounded Jake, but he made an effort to ignore it. He never made her talk to him. Instead, he would constantly compliment her. A month ago, I observed that Mia's attitude toward Jake had changed. Abruptly, she warmed up to him. She would greet and converse with him. I was ecstatic at first. I thought Mia was back. I nailed the third one in another fissure. "You agreed to break up with Frank with this nail." "Genuinely kind man." "To Vegas for the weekend," I said, nailing the coffin's last corner while holding it up. One powerful hit smashed it into the wood. "That's nail 4. Joyce, you know the saying. Last straw in this coffin. It forever seals everything within's fate. My union is dead in that casket. Joyce, you and Frank leaving for Las Vegas early tomorrow will seal the deal, ending our life together." "You can't mean that, David. You cannot dismiss us on one mistake. I'm not ending our connection. You are Joyce. I loved you deeply. It has been a privilege to be your wife for 7 years. You are the most beautiful and seductive woman I have met, and trying to get my attention. Still, I discovered a few peculiarities. Mia was only amiable when Jake was around. If I brought up his name when he wasn't around, she would get serious and change the topic. Every now and then I caught Mom hating pictures of Jake and me. One evening I overheard Mia and Jake talking in the kitchen. She inquired about his life while laughing at his jokes. I felt uneasy with her flirtatious tone of talk. As soon as I walked in, Mia changed. She made a quick apology and walked out. Mia's behavior baffles. This isn't my last call, could I? The marriage license would go in the coffin with me. Could I find some lingerie and a negligee you bought for this occasion in your suitcase to pique my attention and twist the knife? Joyce didn't speak, but her emotions and attitude spoke all. That occurred to me. About to leave. I want to avoid your final deceit. I'll get whatever I need for the next few weeks once you and Frank leave. While in Vegas, you'll probably be too fascinated with Frank to think about anything else. Consider what home items you want to keep. I won't be here when you return, but my lawyer will contact you within a week or two. After getting my jacket, I left the building and got in my car. The darkest night of my life left me numb and dead. Not knowing where I was heading didn't matter. All I wanted was to leave. Knowing I couldn't eat, I booked a Motel 6 far from the airport to avoid Frank. It didn't matter. He may have won, or I may have lost. My phone buzzed many times with Joyce's name on the caller ID, but I ignored it. I didn't want to know why she left a nice marriage. I couldn't sleep thinking about them together. How foolish I was to think I could keep her forever. The next day I showered, changed, and went to the nearest Denny's for toast and coffee. I assumed that was everything. I tried not to think of Joyce, but Frank kept coming to mind. I picture my wife, the woman I thought would always be at my side, holding hands with Frank on the plane, kissing him in the taxi, and hurrying through check-in to their hotel. I heard cheating hurts, yet I had no idea how destructive that might be. I finally contacted my office at 8:30 to tell my assistant I wasn't coming in. I stated I was sick and wanted to be back to normal by Monday. I found Joyce's missed calls and 12 text messages after hanging me. It feels weird, but I believe she's attempting to accept Jake and make apologies. Her actions both with and without him are terrifying. She might be having feelings for Jake and finding it difficult to handle them. Mia won't talk about it with me. She believes that by being kinder to Jake on my behalf, I should be happy. Upon observing her conduct in his absence, she accused me of having paranoia and fantasies. Unsure about what to believe, I wonder if I should just be grateful that Mia is making an effort with Jake and stop worrying so much. Maybe this is her trying to grow up and mend our relationship, but I feel like there's a problem. The thought that Mia's newfound warmth with Jake is a facade is beyond me. I didn't delete or read them. Calls and messages ended at 7:45. When she went to be with Frank, I believed she stopped attempting to reach me. I never called the man who stole my wife Lovely again. He was far off. Retribution was inevitable. I needed timing. To be safe, I went home around 10:30 to get what I needed for my new life as a single man. Joyce's car was gone when I pulled into the driveway and opened the garage door. Reality hit me hard. She presumably took it to meet Frank instead of a cab. I chastised myself for considering she might have stayed home. Get real, friend, I lamented. She dumped you. A better offer was found. Some guy may take her to Las Vegas and pamper her with luxury hotels. Wake up and proceed. She may not be as beautiful, but you'll find someone. Deep down, I doubted my words. The place seemed very quiet when I entered. A broken heart clouding it. It was once warm and vibrant, but now it was chilly and empty. I saw the cheese and ham on the floor were gone as I walked through the kitchen. The casket was gone from the table. My attempt to persuade Joyce had failed, as it was likely thrown away. Lust may seriously impair judgment, I remembered. I pushed open the master bedroom door after climbing the stairs. The coffin was half open on the bed, with a crowbar nearby. Joyce had probably worked hard to loosen some of those nails. Out of curiosity, I located my buried marriage license between the two pillows at the head of the bed. Apparently she didn't want to give me that triumph, I mumbled. I grabbed underpants and socks from the dresser. On the table beside the window were 3 pairs of costly, beautifully designed women's. Thought about telling Jake, but I'm not sure how to phrase it. He is finally thrilled to see Mia like him. I don't want to ruin that or make him feel uneasy around her if I'm wrong. I fear that by expressing my concerns, Jake, who has always been understanding of Mia's previous behavior, will start to mistrust me. I've thought about informing my parents, but I don't think they would accept it. They may be relieved that the tension has subsided and don't want to annoy Mia. Mia has always had trouble with her mood swings and defiance. I'm afraid they'll write my worries down as just another Mia issue. I find the whole situation really stressful. With Mia and Jake, I'm constantly on the lookout for warning signs of trouble. It's ruining our plans for the wedding. I watch every exchange for clues regarding Mia's true feelings and intentions. I'm not sure what to do. Should I explore Mia based on my gut feeling? Do I make underwear torn to shreds and a ribboned yellow negligee? Black marker words were on a paper on top. I cannot share without ownership. What the heck? My voice rang out. A similar message was leaned against the coffin when I returned to the bed. I cannot share without ownership. Same message, black ink. Tires screeched as 2 cars crashed outside, then the front door opened. Where are you? God, please arrive. David, please come so I can tell you I was wrong. How foolishly incorrect I was. A woman yelled. I heard footsteps race to the stairs, then stumbling and falling halfway up. She was crying uncontrollably and crawled toward me when she saw me at the top of the landing. 2 years of dating preceded there. Problems where none exist by overreacting to normal sibling interactions. Is my complicated relationship with Mia influencing my decision-making? Family is important too, but I also want to marry Jake because I love him. It upsets me that my sister and her future husband are having issues. I wish for everyone's happiness and well-being. I've always believed that Jake could facilitate Mia's communication with our parents. I'm 7-year marriage. I'd never seen her like that. She was makeupless. Her hair was messy. She had red, puffy eyes and a Caltech sweater. I joked about giving her plush bunny slippers for Christmas. Joyce, what's up? Where's Frank? I requested. I can't give away what's not mine. She shook her head furiously. I told David that. Told whom? I requested. Frank, I told him that when he picked me up. It's not mine to give away. I dressed this way. I was questioned why I wasn't ready to go to Las Vegas with him. Again, I couldn't give up what wasn't mine. What the hell does that mean? I told him I couldn't travel with him. Would never accompany him? Would never speak to him again because I'm not his. I will never share my body with anyone other than my hubby. She slowly crept up the stairs toward me. He addressed me as David. I was a pest, he added, wasting his money on airfare and a suite. He called me a slut and threatened to fire me at work. I quit, so he was concerned that if I ignore my doubts, I might miss something important. What if Mia is more knowledgeable about Jake than I am? What if I overlooked her genuine distaste for him at first? What if she can't handle her unsuitable feelings for him? I can't decide between my fiancé and my sister. I don't want to accuse somebody before I have evidence, but I also couldn't fire me. His tires squealed for a block as he sped away, angry. She hugged my legs and ankles when she reached the landing. I'm ashamed, she cried. I hurt the only person who consistently loved me. Would somebody help me? I let my everything to me boyfriend down. Sorry, so sorry. Then she cried. She held me for what felt like an eternity, but was actually only a few minutes. Unable to move, I was dumbfounded. My heart was broken by the lady I loved, the center of my existence, whom I worshipped. Half a day later, she was crying on my legs. Every part of me wanted to hold her, tell her how much I loved her, and promise to help her through this tough time. Freezing, I can't move. I recalled the preceding 15 hours, but I thought she hadn't consummated her connection with Frank. Still feeling betrayed. A married woman doesn't go on romantic dates, kiss passionately, or go to Las. Don't want to assume everything is fine if something is wrong. I fear that delaying this will lead to more serious problems down the road. The situation can jeopardize my relationship with my sister or Jake. I think back on my friendship with Mia. I wonder if as she grew older, I could have done more to support her. She might feel more comfortable telling me what's Vegas with another man. She recovered before irreparable injury, but the treachery hurt. I stared at the woman who was my universe until last night. She clearly suffered as much as I did. I questioned if I had the strength to keep our marriage from falling into a dark abyss. I brought Joyce to her feet and hugged until her sobs stopped. Let's make new coffee, I said. Thank you, David. Oh, David, she whispered. When I pulled into the driveway, I may have damaged your automobile. Yes, I heard. We'll address that, I told her. She came downstairs and into the kitchen with my help, going on if we were closer. I regret not shielding her from expectations from her family and possibly adding to her feelings of inadequacy. But not because I doubt Jake's feelings for me, but rather because I'm wondering whether I rushed into things without considering how they would affect my family. I'm also doubting our relationship. I appreciate Jake's unique perspective, but it seems like there might be more issues than I had thought. As we drank coffee, I said, what changed your mind? You seemed to want Frank last night. What happened? With red, puffy eyes, she gazed at me over her cup. You buried our marriage. You mean what? I requested. You sealed our marriage license in that casket. I packed upstairs after you left. But my mind kept going back to our marriage license in the dark. I felt like you were burying our marriage. It was trapped without air, light, or escape. I then considered all the blessings our marriage had brought us. It meant everything to me. Wedding draws near. I am torn between joy for my future with Jake and worry over Mia's unspoken conflict. While I don't want to face my concerns in order to maintain harmony, I do want my family's support when I begin my marriage. Credit AITA for figuring out my. I remembered how happy you made me while we were together. She said she must have drifted asleep since I dreamed I was suffocating in that casket in the dark. It was real enough to wake me up, and I realized I had to open that coffin and save our marriage. Breathe again. Breathe again. She laughed softly. I never noticed how skillfully you hid tools. I spent at least an hour finding a crowbar, and another 30 minutes hauling the coffin to the bedroom and prying the lid open to collect our license. I felt possessed and had to get it. Sister's sudden change in attitude toward my fiancé? Should I give it up or pursue it? Is my instinct correct, or do I overreact to typical family dynamics? In my shoes, how would you respond? How can I deal with this without causing harm to Mia or Jake? Update. I could feel my blood cold as I listened. If Mia didn't agree, Jake threatened to reveal her OnlyFans account to our family. Mia sobbed, begging him to remove the videos that she had before you closed the coffin. When did you reject Frank? She laughed again, warming my heart. 2 seconds after you departed, I realized I could never leave Frank or anyone else. I felt stupid and ashamed. How could I treat my only love like I did you? I called you repeatedly but got no response. I tried texting, but that failed too. After I opened the coffin lid, I thought about telling Frank I never wanted to see him again. I removed my makeup and wore your old Caltech sweatshirt and jeans. My tears had made my eyes red and downloaded. I was taken aback. My mind attempted to interpret what I was hearing. My younger sister was being blackmailed by my darling Jake. Did Mia use OnlyFans as well? Too much information to process. I shook as I listened for a long. Jake had a nasty voice. Not at all like the sweet, gentle man I trusted. Mia sounded both disappointed and afraid. They'd obviously had this conversation previously. I grew weary of listening. After hanging, swollen, and I wondered if Frank would see the real me you always see and love. The most beautiful woman I've met is you. You still seem amazing to me. When I learned that, I knew I had to do everything I could to get you back. To make you love me again. I hadn't packed much. I broke down again when I saw the lingerie I bought for Frank's vacation as I unpacked. Just seeing them made me nauseous. My treason ended with them, so I had to destroy them. Using scissors, I ripped them apart. Though expensive, I couldn't bear to look at them. Like I thought I ruined you and our marriage, I destroyed them. I took our marriage. Up. I sat in amazement for a few minutes. I texted Jake to let him know I was sick and had to postpone our plans. He said he would see how I was. When Jake arrived, I hardly gave him a glance. I pushed him out the door while complaining that I needed to sleep. When he left, I cried. How was it that I was blind? After around 60 minutes, Mia came back. Taking a big breath, I told her everything. I heard her talking to Jake in the car. Mia wept and went pale. License from where I stored it to look at it. Very simple. Joyce Russell married David Campbell on June 12, 2005. Your best man and maid of honor saw it. Reading brought back memories. We swore to stay together till death in front of our family and friends. I cried again, understanding I needed just you. I told Frank I couldn't share what I didn't own when he picked me up. Thank you for sharing. You've made me think. Are we going to survive? Joyce asks. Not sure. Joyce, I hope so. Right now I'm undecided. You nearly broke me last night. I've never hurt so much. I felt abandoned and powerless. Can you imagine knowing your ideal partner? The one you've always trusted? Picking someone else over you? Her tears returned. David, I'm sorry. I was insane. I'd do anything to fix it. Even die if it helps. Dying wouldn't help. More than everything, I want you alive and healthy. I want your trust again. Mia sobbed as she told me everything. From the moment they met, Jake had harassed her sexually. He used to touch her, corner her in rooms, and make improper remarks when he was by himself. Mia said she tried to let me know as soon as possible, but I disregarded her worries. She thought that nobody would believe her about Jake, who mesmerized the entire family. 2 years ago, 16-year-old Mia signed up for OnlyFans on her own. She released. As you stated, we've always been honest, so it won't be too hard. Even after you told me your feelings last night. Joyce, now what? Not sure about you, but I had trouble sleeping last night. If you agree, I'd prefer you in bed. It may be too soon. Nothing needs to be done. David, I just want to feel you next to me. Where only you belong, her dark eyes begged. Okay, but no funny business. Joyce, I'm still upset with you, I said authoritatively. A tiny smile pulled at her lips. Anything you say, darling, she replied, crossing her heart. She took my arm and led me upstairs to her room. Absolutely no funny business. For a couple of months, things were uncertain. No matter how hard I tried, there were times when that night would. 3 videos before realizing her mistake and deleted the account. She believed it was finished. In some way, Jake discovered the account. He used the videos he downloaded to threaten Mia for several months. If Mia didn't behave well toward him, Jake threatened to show the family the tapes. She declined. Her sudden change in behavior makes sense now. Mia was terrified of the videos, but she didn't appreciate having to pretend to like Jake. Haunt me, leaving me in a bad mood. Joyce seemed to notice those times and would shower me with love until she was the only thing on my mind. Eventually, she quit her job. When her boss and HR asked why, she told them about Frank. Though embarrassed, she needed to get it off her chest. Not surprisingly, HR informed her that Frank, the seemingly nice guy, had 3 harassment complaints against him. In short, he lost his job and references. Joyce was allowed to keep her job and even received a substantial sum of money in exchange for not suing the company. She stayed at her job for about 6 months, and during that time, we found out we were going to be parents. Life moves forward. Sometimes you have to give someone a second chance to make things right, even though many people would disagree with me. As I listened to Mia's story, I became uneasy. I gave her a hug and then apologized a lot for not seeing what was going on in front of me, and for not believing her. I told her I would make things right. Jake and I met in a coffee shop the following day. I threw everything I knew at him. At first, he denied everything, but he completely changed when he realized I had heard him speak to Mia. Unlike the kind, compassionate man I believed I knew, he was calculating and cold. Jake said Mia deserved what was coming to her because she had exploited him. He even stated that if I ignored Mia, we could work things out. I detested it. We broke up right away, and I declared that I would never see him again. I knew it was insufficient. Jake's actions cost him money. I informed the police about Jake's child sexual harassment and blackmail with Mia's permission. We showed them everything we had. Even the secret recordings Mia had made of Jake's threats. Police looked into our grievance. Jake's gadgets contained the videos that he had downloaded from Mia's previous OnlyFans account. Following his arrest, Jake was the subject of numerous charges. Mia's OnlyFans videos were taken off from the internet by our lawyer. The attorney also assisted us in ensuring that Mia, who was duped and blackmailed into creating the account while underage, wouldn't be held legally responsible. For weeks, our family has been struggling. When my parents found out about Jake, they were inconsolable. They support Mia and me, but I know they regret not seeing through Jake's deceit. Mia, who is receiving therapy, was scarred by Jake's assault and blackmail. She may still have a long way to go, but already she's beginning to resemble the robust, energetic youngster I remember. I'm still learning things in my brain. I feel foolish for not recognizing Jake's true character. For putting aside Mia's initial contempt. Although I'm angry with Jake for breaking my trust and injuring my sister, I'm relieved that I learned about it before I got married. This experience made Mia and I closer. When there is free communication, trust is rebuilt. I promise to believe her and stand by her at all times. I've also been reflecting on my behavior and assumptions. I understood that because Mia's worries went against Jake's image. I was eager to dismiss them. I want to listen more and refrain from making snap judgments. I appreciate Reddit's support of my first article. Despite my lack of understanding, your comments made me more conscious of the warning signs. The moral of my story should be to heed the advice of loved ones and follow their gut feelings, even in difficult situations. Talk if you find yourself in a similar situation. Resources and people can be of assistance. Trust those who come to you with reports of abuse or harassment. Your assistance could be crucial. Even though I know the road ahead will be difficult, I'm relieved that Mia is safe and Jake is unable to harm anybody else. Our everyday goal is to mend the relationships inside our family. I appreciate you allowing me to inform you. I took away from this experience the importance of having open lines of communication and having faith in your gut. Never ignore that uneasiness. Despite your incapacity to clarify,